All right, we are live. Welcome to Smart Love Sundays. I am super excited about today. Thank you, everyone that is joining. Thank you for those that have been on since 8 waiting for us. I appreciate your patience. We just had to make sure we had everything right and the vibe was right and the technical difficulties were worked out. And guess what? We're ready to go. So today we are kicking off a brand new series. We finished the War on Black Love series, and now we're starting the Healthy Guide to Smart Love. This is really, I would say, probably the first step to solving some of the issues that we discussed in the War on Black Love. There was a lot of talk about self reflection, self mastery, self discovery, and starting with self in order to really fix the issues that we're having amongst the gender divide in the Black community and bringing the Black families together. So we're really excited to kick off this series. And I'm going to actually start let me share my screen. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm going to start with just a little mini lesson, not too many slides. But I definitely wanted to give you all, here we go, just a little bit of information to get us going. So I mentioned this in my live, or one of the reels that I did, that I wanted you to bring your notebooks, because we're going to be taking notes. We're really going to be teaching, a little bit here and there, as well as sharing our perspectives and discussing a lot of these topics. So always come with your notepad, your journal, your pens, your pencils, whatever you have, just so you could really capture this, because we're going in. And like I said before, this is free game, so soak it up. The first time is free. The second time, I don't know, I might have to charge you. No. But anyway, so for those of you that are not familiar with my platform, Smart Love Inc. is a platform for like minded men and women to come together to discuss real life relationship topics and to learn from each other's experiences. The goal of Smart Love is to inspire true love in relationships today by being transparent, sharing information, and really just sharing advice and making those real connections that will help us to grow when it comes to just love and harmony, and just I'm just a hopeless romantic. Okay, so I want us all to find that art of happiness when it comes to our relationships, whether it's friendships, work relationship, partnerships, romantic relationships, all of that. I really want to use this platform to inspire that in all of you. So today's topic is mastering self for lasting love. Okay. And I have a couple new guests on here. So we're going to bring them up a little bit later. And yeah, we're gonna dive right in. We're gonna start with just a little lesson. We're gonna get into what are the key components of self mastery. I'm going to define self smart love for you, and then we're just going to have some open discussions as we always do. Okay. So if you're here in the chat, do me a quick favor. Go ahead and love this post wherever you are watching it from, so we can get this out to more people. Drop me a heart in the comments so I see you. I can see that there's a few people on. I don't know who's on yet because you're not speaking to me yet. So just drop me a heart, say hello, so I know that you're there and that you're listening and that you're in tune and you're ready to get this free game, as I said. All right, so let's jump right into it. Okay. So, what is smart love? Okay. So, really, there's so many ways to define smart love. And to be honest, I feel like everyone really needs to define it for themselves. But for the sake of this platform and for these topics that we're discussing today, I'm going to kind of give you my definition of smart love. Thank you. I see that like out there. Hey, Marcus, I see you. Hey, Demarius, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. So, yeah, so let's jump right into it. So, what is smart love? Smart love is an intellectual, logical approach to love that focuses on not only, I'm sorry, that focuses on building relationships that are not only emotionally fulfilling, but also resilient, adaptive, and mutually enriching. Smart love is all about learning from your mistakes and making logical choices when it comes to matters of the heart. It's focusing on becoming self-aware, recognizing your own needs and desires, as well as understanding how your behaviors, your emotions, and your past experiences influence your relationships. Smart love focuses on always seeking knowledge, continuous growth, and self-improvement. It's all about approaching relationships with intentionality and engaging in relationships that are closely aligned with who you are and who you want to be. We're approaching relationships with a problem-solving mindset. We're not just complaining. I don't like this. I don't like that. No, like how do we fix it? That's the smart love way to do it. It's about learning from your mistakes and making better logical choices, like I said, when it comes to the matter of the heart. So that's smart love. So whenever we use smart love, this is what we're focusing on. So as I mentioned, in our war on Black love, like self mastery came up a lot, right? Actually, hold on, I'm sorry. One second. Okay. So yeah, so in our discussion on the war on Black love, the self mastery came up a lot. That was just something that we understood that really to begin the work, you have to start with yourself, right? You have to take a look at the man in the mirror. And so this was just, what was a mutual agreement amongst the panelists that this is the first place that we wanted to start. So as individuals, we often show up to relationships with some type of baggage, right? Whether it's emotional baggage, childhood trauma, adult trauma, residual heartbreak from a previous relationship, but all these things that kind of affect our ability to build authentic relationships, right? And when we carry this baggage into new relationships and we don't take the time to focus on self and resolve some of those issues, you're going to repeat the cycle over and over again, right? And that's not smart love. So that's why we wanted to start with self mastery. So that's hence the term mastering self for lasting love. All right. He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty. Write that one down. That's a good one. Hey, Heather, I see you, boo. Everyone in the chat, make sure you like this post wherever you are. Get us out there, okay? So what is self-mastery? Okay, self-mastery is about knowing your purpose. It's about personal development and the journey towards gaining complete control over your own desires, actions, and thoughts. When you have developed self-mastery, you have the ability to control yourself in all situations, and you move forward consciously and steadily towards your goals. You know your purpose. You have the self-discipline to accomplish them. You're deliberate, you're focused, and you operate in an honorable way. That's self-mastery, okay? And that's what we want to focus on in this specific live, okay? So, I'm sorry, these slides are kind of out of order. A second, I don't know how. Okay, so the key components of self-mastery are listed here. You can go ahead and take a screenshot of this, keep it handy. Of course, we're going to start with self-awareness. So self-awareness is actually the foundation of self-mastery. That's understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, your thoughts, your beliefs, what motivates you, your emotional triggers. All of these things are very important for you to understand about yourself in this aspect of trying to master self. So to understand all of these components will help you in your future relationships. Self-regulation. being able to manage your emotions and behaviors in line with your values and the social norms. So this includes like impulse control, stress management, your ability to adapt, aligning your actions with your goals and your values. Self-discipline, the ability to pursue what is right despite temptations. This involves, being persistent, resilient, um, practicing delayed gratification in order to achieve your long-term goals. Self-motivation. This is about keeping yourself motivated towards your goals, driving towards your goals, even when you're facing, difficulties, challenges. You maintain that same energy and ambition, and you follow through on your commitments. So that it's important that you have that self motivation. That you're not going to always receive it from outside forces. So it's important that you are self motivated. Um, One of the key components of self mastery is goal setting. Identifying and setting clear, actionable, and achievable goals as a roadmap for self improvement. Mindfulness and emotional intelligence. Developing the capacity to be present and connected to your emotional experience. This helps you make thoughtful and informed choices in your relationships. So that's very important. And then, of course, the continuous learning and adaptability. This isn't something that you just master and then you just go on. Like, no, you're continuing to develop these areas. You're continuing to learn. You're continuing to adapt. In every relationship, you're going to have to adapt to that relationship. You're going to have to grow, and so it's important to know that this is continuous work that you'll do. It's not just a one and done situation. All right, so I see, let's see. Okay, we are popping. I see we got at least 10 people watching live. I only see 3 likes. So I'm going to need you all to take a moment and go ahead and, number one, love this live so that others can see it. Share it with a friend, share it on your page, share it in your story. Let's get more eyes on this information. This is really important. We want to share these positive messages as much as we share all the wretchedness out there. So if you take a moment and just please, like, love this post, say hello in the chat. Hello, my Duchess. I see her in the chat. Never a master, always learning. Yes, you are. Okay, yes, thank you so much for sharing. Who is that? Services. Is that you? Is that you? Okay, Marcus, thank you so much for sharing. So, yeah, so these are the 7 key components of self-mastery. This is what we're going to dive into as far as our discussions today. And I just really want you all to soak that in. So, just to give you the context of why this is so important, people who pursue self mastery often are on a journey towards evolving and growing. And, you know, if you become a self master, okay. When you face new challenges in life, when you're faced with just difficulties, if you are a master of self, you know how to handle those, and they don't take you off the path of your purpose. They don't take you away from your values and your beliefs. You're still going to be motivated, and you're still going to accomplish your goals because you have mastered this. So that's why it's very important to master self. And then especially when it comes to relationships, being able to build fulfilling relationships, I think it has a lot to do with who you are. And then until you understand who you are, no one else will. Okay, so let me go ahead and remove this. So that's our little lesson of the day. Okay, got through it in the first 15 minutes. Loving that. Okay, so as I bring on my ladies, I want everyone in the chat and all of my panelists in the background, I want you to go ahead and drop one word in the comments, maybe a word or a phrase to describe how you're showing up today. Whether you're excited, what you're looking forward to in today's session. So everyone drop that in the chat. And I'm going to go ahead. Who is your master? It's so silly. I'm going to go ahead and bring on my ladies. So Nikki, oh my goodness, I'm missing. Okay, here we go. There she is. Okay. Nikki is ready to learn. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Hey, Nikki, welcome back.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm excited.
Me too. Thank you so much for coming back because you were dropping so many gems the last time. I was like, this
It's part
that
two. Let's go.
connection right there. What? Part two. Okay, so we got ready to learn. We got awareness. Kiki, hey, you're on mute. Motivated. Are you still? I think you're still on mute. I can't hear you. Are you off mute? There's my boy Ghost. Okay, there we go. Open to learn.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. I am good. I am showing up intentional.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Nice said Nikki be on it. Okay, Nikki be on it. Okay. Trying to figure out what this dance y'all are doing it. Okay, so the three of us actually happen to all be from the Bay Area, and we are showing up here like we're representing. Okay, for our generation, we're representing for conscious women.
Right.
We're representing for high quality, high value women. We're representing for Black women as a whole today. Okay, that's how we're showing up here today. Okay, always ready, eager to learn.
Yes.
We're
We come from
intentional.
solution-driven people.
Yes,
Yes, for
yes,
sure.
yes, and and that's why, like, I feel like it shows up in our everyday lives. Like anyone that knows us and how we operate, like we definitely are self-aware and we are intentional in everything that we do. So this is gonna be a great discussion. So before we get into the actual discussion, Nikki, I know you and I, we were kind of like, bouncing ideas off of each other. And I know that you had some information that you wanted to share about self-awareness, which is like the key, I would say the foundation of self-mastery is self-awareness. And I know you got some gems to drop on us. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, and then we're gonna get into our little discussion.
I was laughing. I was like, don't gas it too hard. Don't gas. But so no, thank you for having me. This is my second time on here. I'm just really, really excited. I learned so much from other people's perspective, especially our male counterparts, and seeing what they have to say, and then what we also have to say collectively as women. So I'm excited about this. Let me start there. Girl, you took my whole lesson plan too. Let me just say that, right? So I thought I did my homework. And you broke it on down. So I was like, okay, let me stay on topic then. So
yeah, I try to keep it high level though, because I knew
absolutely.
you were gonna go deep. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the main things that I did want to talk about was self-awareness, right? And so a lot of times we figure that we are self-aware, we are knowledgeable about self, but a lot of times we're just existing in autopilot on a program and just going day by day, right? And self-mastery, self-awareness is so important because if you don't have that, it's very hard for you to make changes and improve in who you are currently and then what you want to gravitate towards or work towards in the future, right? So, in dealing with self-awareness, just to break down the word, is just awareness of self, right? But anytime you put the NESS on something, it means to be, right? Or to put towards it, right? So it's one thing to be aware, but when you are self-aware or using awareness, you're in the action of being aware. So this is all the time. This is paying attention to your surroundings. This is paying attention to your habits. This is paying attention to your family, who you're raised by, who your friends are, the things that you do, right? So when you look into that, we have to kind of figure out, first of all, when dealing with self-awareness and wanting to change these things for the better, where we come from, right? A lot of us stay in that sector for a long time. And we don't need to delve in that so much, because the more that we do look into the past, it kind of like we repeat those same things, right? But only looking back into the past to see what foundation we have set on, right? So when we're looking at self-awareness, we have to look at the pillars of our life. So when we talk about the pillars of our life, we're speaking of our physical pillars, our mental and emotional pillars, our social connections, are those things that we deal with on an everyday basis, right? So when we think about it, looking into basically how we were born and the habits and the characteristics and even the genetics of, you know, our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles, people who are directly related to us or may have raised us, right? Just in case you weren't particularly raised by your parents or grandparents. We see a lot of those similarities, right? So to be aware, first and foremost, you have to look at your surroundings, right? And what are those things that you got from those people that you honor and that are still serving you, you know, being aware of those things. And then those things that no longer serve you, you feel like, you know, it's not helping you to progress or move forward. Once you are aware about that, then I think that it's better and easier for you to look in the present, who you are now and how you've gotten here, based off of maybe your habits, some of the people that you pick in relationships, things that you tend to do. Case in point, I was raised by a mother, like you said, that was solutionary based, right? So even in relationships, I'm always trying to figure out what I need to do, right? But in an equal and well relationship, you have to let the other person also help in that effort, right? If you don't, then it's not going to be a balanced relationship. So I have to discover the things that I have picked up along the way that I want to change or whatever to move forward in those things. So I think that once we do the past, looking in the past, seeing who we are in the present, we can then look forward and figure out what things we want to change in the future and move forward in that way.
I love that. I love that. And like, what do you feel like is the best way to do that? Because I know that, especially like our parents' generation and like our grandparents, like, I don't know, they were kind of like secretive. They weren't very like transparent. And, you know, like stuff was going on that they thought we didn't know, you know, but you know, us being, you know, nosy kids, we knew a lot of stuff that was going on that we weren't supposed to know. But they, you know, they don't really talk about like some of the things that, you know, especially like the traumatic things. So like, how do you recommend you go about even like, you know, I'm not saying like, you know, opening up those old wounds, but even just
how do
like,
you heal? Yeah. I think that initially, and staying on my topic of self-awareness, really looking into what do you believe? You know, and when you really look into what do you believe, and what is your spiritual foundation, I think that it'll give you a better parameter on how to move forward. Okay, so even if someone is not a spiritual person, something as simple as journaling, writing down particular things in your life, looking at habits that you have had in relationships, or the similarities in people that you date, or just different things like that, the different habits that you have in your life or whatever they may be. But when they're written down, you can kind of look and see, okay, this is the issue. This is something I'm great at. Okay. And then this is something I'm not so great at. But before you're even able to write things down, you would need to actually try to find some solitude. You know, can you actually get by yourself for long enough and sit still long enough to think about these things? A lot of us are busy being busy because we want to bury these things. We don't want to think about these things.
Yep.
So just being still enough to say, okay, let me look at this. I want to give this time to this process and write it down. And then why I said the spiritual component is because once you undig all of that deep stuff, it's going to take some sort of spiritual premise. And I think that a lot of people, when they say spiritual, they feel like you are to, it comes with like a religious feeling with it. When I say spirit, it means growing. It means moving. It means staying in the flow of evolution, right? So whatever that is that's going to keep you going, whether it's exercise, whether it's whatever that makes you feel good enough to where you're not stagnant and you're flowing to keep doing the work. And you might have to take a break, come back to it again. But just that commitment that you're going to move forward, you're going to need some type of spiritual backing to do that.
Yes, I love that. And that's a good segue. I'm going to put this in the chat and I'm really going to go into it at the end. But I have some self-mastery homework for everyone to do. We're all going to do it, all of us on the panel. And then everyone that's watching, we're going to do a self-check. And this homework is going to help us get honest about who we are. Like, we're going to put this in writing, write it all down. And so I have like a list of questions. I'll just kind of give you a few of them, but I'm going to actually share this with everyone at the end. But things like, writing down, what is happening in your life that is preventing you from growing and reaching your full potential? How are you showing up in your relationships? Are you genuinely happy with who you are and what you have become? What do you need to change? Where do you really want to be in life? Like, answering those type of questions. What are your core beliefs? Focusing on your purpose and things like that. So that's yes, I did say homework. So, I mean, let's call it like love work. Okay. This is you loving on yourself. But I like what Nikki said about journaling. Find you a journal, put all this in there. Like, for me, like, I have to see things written in my handwriting for it to register, to really, for me to really deep dive. Because my mind is like always like 10 steps ahead of where I am right now. But when I put it down on paper and then when I go back and read it, I'm like, okay, I see where I was at that point. I see what I need to work on. I see, what my weaknesses are, what I want to improve. I need to see it in my own handwriting. So I think that's something that we all should do as a practice. So I like what you said about journaling. So that's great. Okay.
And then a side note, really quick on that too, like sometimes you gave some great topics also, but just like some free writes also, because it just kind of write, because sometimes when you're not used to journaling, I know when I first start journaling, I was like writing as if someone was going to read my journal. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't writing like the real nitty gritty, the real authentic, it was like when I would read it back, I'd be like, that's a lie. Why you wrote that? You know what I'm saying? But it was kind of like I was writing as if someone was going to read it. And so that did, help me to understand that, in certain circumstances, you have to be honest with yourself, and be aware that there is a facade, there is something that you're keeping up, not only with everyone, but with yourself. Journalism is not the easiest thing to do. So if some of these questions because you gave some hitters, some deep ones. If some of those questions are a little bit too deep for people to really delve into, to just do, you know, a general like free write at first, just to start the flow of honesty. So that when you
Absolutely.
do answer LaDonna's questions, you can really, you know, get some fruit out of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Kiki, I know that there's the clutter free weekend that you do every year, and like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about as far as self mastery and things like that is like what you all focus on. So like, what are some of your practices when it comes to focusing on some of these self-awareness or self-discipline, self-motivation, things like that? Can you hear us? Oh, you on
So,
mute.
yeah, Clutter Free Weekend is actually hosted by my. Can you hear me? So I'm
Yes.
not on mute anymore. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
No, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, Clutter Free Weekend is hosted by my life coach. Okay, good, good, good. My life coach, Angel Richards. She's the founder of Clutter Free Society. And honestly, when I joined that coaching group, that was like the beginning of my journey. So, like everything Nikki said is like everything that we do with self. When I say my word is intentional because I think to be able to master self, you have to be intentional. Because the things that come up it can be heavy. So like when I first started working with Angel in the beginning, honestly, I got to a place of where I like to call it level zero. And I tell my kids, you say it was zero. Zero is such a beautiful place to be in because if we all know numbers, you can be lower than zero. Like the negative numbers can go, it can be infinite. But for me, level zero is being at a place of, I don't know what I'm doing. I do not know what I am doing. I don't like the decisions that I am making. I don't like it. And it's so funny when Nikki said with journaling. So how it even started for me was journaling. Like when I got on this journey, it was the end of a breakup, right? It seemed like with women, it's always a breakup that kind of pushes us into self, mastery journey. But at the end of the day, it's really not the real issue. It's just the catalyst, right? But I went through this breakup. But one thing I got in that relationship was he used to write, and I've always been a writer. I had stopped writing. He encouraged me to write. So as I'm writing about what I'm going through with him, and then one day I went back and I read that journal and I saw just complete and utter sadness and despair. And I was like, that's me. Wow. So, I think a part of that journey of discovering self is honestly being ready, like being ready for the revelation. So I tell people all the time in the beginning, I had the breakup, then I was thinking about just past relationships, and then I kind of saw a common denominator in all my past relationships, and it was me. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, then that means I'm not the victim and it's not taking away from what anyone may have done, right? Because everyone plays their part because we all play our part, right? But I'm looking at, okay, I'm the common denominator. It's something within me that is choosing these people. So I said, okay, self, like, would you date you? Do you want to be with someone that is just like you and not the things that we see, not the beautiful qualities, the good things about men. We can talk about the good things about ourselves all day, right? But it's those things that are in the shadow that we know that we have. And I had to ask myself, would I date someone that was just like me with the things in their shadow that I had in mind? And I had to give myself an honest no. And that no was, like, really heartbreaking for me because it shattered my image, like, what I thought about I thought I was all that. Like, you couldn't tell me I wasn't all that, and in that moment, I was like, "No, I'm not all that, I need help," but I promise you, in that moment, that's when God was like, "She ready, let's go." And then from that moment, that's when I got into coaching, that's when I got into, well, being coached, having a therapist, and all of these things, these childhood things, they started coming up. And I think that's that place where you have to be ready because sometimes you're not ready for all the things that you've been through. So when you have to look at like, oh man, this happened. Like this really happened when I was 5. Like this is a suppressed memory that I have. Oh man, when I was 13, I made this decision, but XYZ happened. All these things, like it mattered, right? And you have to be ready because I think that like, with therapy, yeah, I go to therapy, right? But that is an hour. That's an hour in the middle of the day. The majority of the breakthrough comes at like 3 a.m. when I'm by myself and I wake up out my sleep because I've had this memory of something that happened. And that's when I have to use the tools that I learned in therapy to be able to process that. So I say my word is intentional because to be able to do those things, you have to move very intentionally. You have to be willing to question your beliefs. You have to be willing to question like maybe I'm not right. Like maybe the way that, I learned how to do XYZ it was wrong. And I think the beauty of being able to go back and understand generational trauma is we see how it shows up, right? Because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. But what we don't know often runs the show because it's in our subconscious mind. The subconscious runs the show. So we don't know like what we don't know, and we're showing up a certain type of way. And a lot of the things that we're carrying, it ain't even our stuff. It's our great especially us as black people. Like we are descendants of slaves. So that trauma is in our DNA and it shows up in the way that we relate to one another, like particularly in relationships. So yeah, I say be intentional and be ready. And this whole process, like the self-mastery process, it's continuous because I think it's just levels to this. It's levels to this and it's layers to uncovering yourself. And I think that it's a lifelong thing. Like it ain't
Journey.
gonna never be over.
It is absolutely. I remember when I was studying with the Nation of Islam, they were practicing. I hope I get this term correct. I think it's called Dianetics. And so with Dianetics, and we can look that up. And if there's anyone in the chat that's familiar with this, please correct me if I'm saying it incorrectly. But what Dianetics is, it's kind of like they go through a process called auditing where they put you kind of in a trance, kind of like they put you to sleep and they start asking you like a series of questions. And it's like, go back to the first time that you felt pain or you felt a loss or you felt abandoned. And oftentimes and I'm just speaking, I've never gone through it, but I just know some people that have, and they kind of shared the story with me. It would take them back to a time that they didn't even know that they remembered. Like this is like going back to, like when I was a baby and like my mother, left for 4 days. And it was like you don't even know that you know this and that you felt it, but it's like there's these engrams that are in your brain, and these things trigger certain emotions in you, right? So it could be something that could show up and it triggers that. You don't even know that this memory is there. You don't know where it came from, and you don't know why you feel the way you feel. But going through this Dianetics process, like it actually allows you to go to that source, then heal it and move on. And I've seen people like transform through this process. Like someone that was like, like a really like stern, hard, like, I'm FOI, a woman can't tell me nothing, to like softer, like it was like amazing to me. So yeah, so look that up. Dianetics is, I believe that I'm saying it correctly. I'll look it up before the end of this call and put it in the chat. But I think going through that process, like I said, going back to these early memories, some stuff that you've probably suppressed, you could find the source of things that are being triggered in your life today. So I think all of that is helpful in helping us to grow and heal and become better human beings, but definitely better, partners in our relationships. Okay, okay, we getting into it now. I'm just feeling this good vibes and good energy. Like, oh, okay. Anyway, I'm learning from the two of you, so thank you so much. Okay, so going into the self regulation part of the self mastery. So when you're thinking about self regulation, what would you say? And I'll ask both of you. I guess I'll start with you, Kiki, since I started with Nikki first. Um, what strategies do you use to manage your emotions when you're dealing with conflicts or challenging moments in relationships? And now this could be friendships, romantic relationships, partnerships, dealing with kids, whatever. But like, how do you manage your emotions during the conflict?
So I'm learning, still a work in progress, like I say, because sometimes, this thing is not consistently linear. Sometimes I go back, but I do try to move slower. Like I said, that's moving with intention and not being so quick to respond. Like I think sometimes, I know the way I was raised, just being in society, you want to be quick, and I'm witty, I'm quick, I'm very quick, right? But sometimes that quick response is a very emotional one and it may be laced in some trauma. So I move slower. I'm very mindful of the way that I respond and then how things come at me because I know that I have these traumas, right? I know that I have certain things and it's not like they just go away. Like I'm just gonna get this whole different personality and these things that happen to me, like I'm totally unaffected. That's not true. Like, but there's an awareness that I have these, what they call schemas or whatever, where I have maybe it may be an abandonment issue, it may be, all these different things that we deal with, right? So when something happens, I'm aware that I have these schemas in my background and stuff may hit up against it. So
Mm,
so rather than me being so quick to respond, and like I said, and I'm not perfect, so sometimes you might get that quick response. However, like I know how to, oh, my bad, I apologize and correct it. But I think with moving slower, I ask myself questions. So if like, me and someone I'm dating, and if we have a disagreement about something or something hurts my feelings or whatever, I kind of will break that whole thing down. Like, okay, well, why do I feel this way about what he said? What is this hitting up against? Is this even really that? This is not even really that. This is just hitting up against that. So it's making me feel that way. But everything I feel, it's valid, but everything is not real. It's not the way that's what I allow myself to feel that my feelings are not invalid, but what I may not be feeling may not be appropriate for this situation. Like this person may not be abandoning me,
right.
but it just may be hitting up against that. And I think that by moving slower, I'm able to ask myself those type of questions and quit tripping. Like I think when you move quicker, that's when you start tripping. Like where you get to sending the text messages and when you dumping people and we're done and I'm blocking you and all that because you just hit up against something, but I think when you move slower, it's like, okay, it's not even that. And look, I was gonna block you, and you was literally sick or something like that, right? But I think sometimes when you move fast, like you can be so emotional and think like, oh, well, he ain't called me in such and such amount of days. He hasn't done whatever, and it's not even that. Like you might have, messed up a relationship or missed out on an opportunity to grow with someone because you allowed your triggers to get in the way. So it doesn't mean that you
Yeah.
won't be triggered, but I think that it's my responsibility to manage my triggers. I don't put the management of my triggers on anyone else. That's not
Mm,
anyone else's responsibility because everybody doesn't even know like all of our triggers. So like that's unfair to put that responsibility on other people. That's why I say you kind of got to move slow and like ask yourself, like, why does this bother me? If this makes me mad, am I really mad when anger is really just a secondary emotion? No, I'm actually sad. I'm actually disappointed. And I'll
mm,
admit when I'm disappointed. Like, if you make a date, you can't make the date. That is disappointing to me. But
right,
rather than have this whole big temper tantrum about it, I'm willing to say, okay, this disappointed me, right? This disappointed me, but that doesn't mean that this person is abandoning me.
yeah,
So yeah, I
that's
just move
right.
slow. I move much slower than what I
It's
used to.
Yep, and then unnecessary podcast says slow to anger because love is patient. Yep, love is patient, love is kind. You're right. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Kiki. So Nikki, not the same exact question, but how do you balance expressing your feelings authentically while also like considering others' emotions when in conflict? This could be with a partner or friend or any relationship. Like, how do you balance that?
That was an excellent answer, Kiki. That was just like right on the money too with me also. But in answering this question, I think I would have to also go with as Kiki said, be a lot slower to respond. Um, and with that wit, and asking about those wounds, why are we responding in the way that we're responding? This is not a war. I don't need to be on top. I don't need to have the last word. I want to preserve my peace. So when you coming from that space, it helps you to express yourself clear, but with less venom, because your objective is not to hurt the other person, it's just to articulate what it is that you're feeling.
Yep.
And then sometime even being clear in saying, this is where I'm coming from, and please forgive me if it sounds this way, but this is how I feel. Because
Mhm.
also, like us, we don't know what other woundings or trauma or whatever that other people have.
Right.
And I think sometimes too, one of my biggest flexes is to just, and it's kind of funny because now everybody is using like mental health words. But girl, I'd be like, I'm triggered. That triggered me. You know what I'm saying? I'll just say it, so that people know, like, I'm going to respond in this way.
This is your warning shot.
I'm going to respond in this way, but no, in a healthy way. But that triggered me. That stung a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Or like she said, if I'm disappointed, just being authentic. I think sometimes just voicing that and saying, oh, that's disappointing. You can't make it, instead of kind of keeping it in, you know. And then I just, I do, and just being mindful. Also just mindful. Just being mindful of how it's so funny because, like you said, where we're from, how we learn to communicate, especially in the Bay Area, especially in the land of Black Panthers, but pimps and hoes. Like, we gonna let you know. Like, it's not gonna be so, really just being mindful. A lot of us have so much power in our tongue, and
Mhm.
the things that we say and how passionate it sounds and the trajectory and the energy that it's almost like sometimes when you say things, you feel the energy change like immediately, or you can have something happen immediately. So knowing that you having this kind of power, it's like, just being mindful of how you talk to other people, because more often than not, people value what comes out of our mouth, more more than others sometimes. So yeah, just being
Mhm.
mindful and, like Kiki said, slow to speak, and just kind of, expressing those feelings. Oh, if I'm disappointed, say that I'm disappointed. If I miss you, say that I miss you. Just kind of be open in that way. And then just ask for clarity. And a lot of times too, I find myself saying, in conversation, or when I do express myself, I heard you say, or this is what, I understood that you were saying. And then I can
Mhm.
be corrected. That's not what I was saying, and vice versa. So that has helped me a lot in expressing my emotions.
I love it. I love it. Y'all so mature.
Sometimes. And when I can't be, I'm quiet. I'll go on and put myself on timeout. I go away. I'm the only child, so I don't know how to argue. It's just like straight for blood. So if I can't be mature, I'm just gonna be silent and put myself on timeout.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, all right. I see the chat is jumping. Thanks everyone
Yeah.
for like jumping right in. I hope you getting some of this good game. We giving you, telling you like these women are like we giving you the keys. Okay, these are the keys to mastering self, communicating, like using all of these tools. Once you
Uh-uh.
learn like what your triggers are, who you are, and this is going to help you in these relationships. So this is amazing. Um, well, let's move on to like self motivation. So we talked about one of the keys to self mastery is, keeping yourself driven towards your goals, right? This is, making sure that you're following through, that that you maintain that same energy, like even when you have like difficult situations come up. So when it comes to self motivation, Nikki, how do you maintain a sense of purpose and drive towards your personal life, and the energy that you put into that, and trying to maintain, I'll say, romantic relationships, right? Because it's like sometimes we can get so focused on like, okay, I gotta get, I gotta get here, this is where I'm trying to go, I'll put some energy into that later, like I'm not, I can't deal with with the dirty dating pool right now because I'm trying to get to the bag. You know what I'm saying? Often that's how we kind of like shift our energy. So how can you maintain that same drive and, like I said, put energy into like a relationship?
Well, LaDonna, that was quite a question. I was with you until the last part of the question because I have not mastered that.
Okay, okay.
nor nor can I say that I think that okay, so when you say relationships, I'll say with my friends, family, and loved ones,
Okay.
I make time for that. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I make time. I actually like, okay, I'm gonna go check in, or if somebody's on my mind, I'll go ahead and do that. A lot of effort and energy is put into just me doing the things that bring me purpose on a regular basis. So I have to be, as Kiki said, intentional about not letting those relationships fall through the cracks, because it can happen really, really easy.
yep.
Um, and then sometimes not putting so much emphasis on purpose, right? Like when we
Mm,
talk about purpose, it has to be like this amazing thing, when sometimes your purpose is to just be present.
mm,
Sometimes your purpose is just to let somebody else know that you care. Sometimes your purpose is to just be consistent with yourself and keep your word to yourself. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, especially in an entrepreneurial space, we develop these major purposes, and it can swallow us up pretty quickly to where we have no more energy for the other relationships in our life. So
mm.
I'm very, very intentional on making sure that I tap in with my loved ones, spend time with them, things of that nature. Now, so far as a partnership relationship, I have not mastered that. I don't even know what that looked like for real. Like
Okay. Honest.
because Yeah, and this is it's something that I am excited to see. But I feel like too, in a partnership relationship, two people that are focused on purpose within their own lives would collectively come together and intentionally make time for each other. You know, you make time for the things that you want. And so I feel like when I'm in that situation, that's what I would do. But in practice of that, I make time for my loved ones and my friends and family, intentional time for them now.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I know for me, that's something I'm working on too. Because I'm just, it's hard. It's hard because I was speaking about myself where I'm just like, hey, I gotta get to this bag. I'm gonna check y'all in a second, and then, that's like where I'm putting my energy towards. But I feel like I'm trying to be more conscious of, like, I have relationship goals too that I want to accomplish. So need to think about that. So that leads me to a question for you, Kiki. Um, because we're really good at setting like our career goals, our personal goals. What are some relationship goals that you have?
Hmm, that's that's a heavy one. I think my primary relationship goal, like I kind of live like I'm learning to, because I haven't always lived this way, but I'm learning to live my life by like what I call this my love flow. And my love flow goes, it's God, it's myself, and it's everyone else. So my relationship goals are to be so full, like can be continuously full and be able to pour out in the way that I desire everyone in my life, whether it's a romantic relationship, my relationships with my family, my friends, but for me to be able to love at the, because I'm a lover. Like I love love, I believe in love, like because God is love. So how can I not believe in God the way that I do and not love love? So I'm a
Mhm,
lover, right? But I know that right to be able to love at the fullest capacity, I have to be full and only God can fill me up. So when I
mm,
understand the love flow, that it's God, it's me in the middle, and then it's everyone else after that, that allows me to go back directly to my source so that I can show up in these relationships so the way that I need to, because I think that sometimes it can be the other way around. Like I remember on one of the podcasts, I think it was when I forgot his name. Was it the minister? I forgot his
Brother
name,
Stanley.
the Muslim,
Brother
but
Stanley.
when he said like sometime but when he said something about like how women, how in relationships sometimes we can make men our God, where we can expect so many things from men when we expect so many things externally, and it's not right. So for me, um, like I mean, of course, I have a list of things that I desire in relationship and all that, but for me, it's that love of self that it's flowing out. So I know that I have joy on the inside of me, right? That the world did not give that to me. So the world cannot take that away from me. And that joy is what I'm able to pour out to everyone around me. And it can get depleted because, like I said, life be life. And sometimes, I get dried up, but I also know that I can go right to that source. I think when it's not aligned in that way, when you put the people before, you constantly, looking to get filled up. And people can give what they don't even have. Like we be looking for people to fill us up in ways that they cannot. So I don't know if I fully answered the question all the way right because um yeah, like I said, my relationship goal is to just love people in my fullest capacity. And like that is everyone. Like, yeah, romantic relationships, it's different than my friendships, but to be honest, I look at all ships the same. They're the
Mm,
same. Like it's the same me that's showing up in my relationship with my family, with my relationships with the person that I'm dating, with, all of these things. So how does that look? How do I want relationships to look? I want it to look like I am like pouring something good into all of these people. But the only way that I can pour that, only way I can pour is if I'm full. And the only thing that I can be full of is what God has placed in me. And that's purpose. And to be honest, and that's purpose. Just like as she said, purpose. And we don't have, it doesn't have to be this boom boom type thing. It's the way that we connect and love one another. It's the way that we impact one another, because that's truly what God designed each and every one of us for. Like, we're all meant to impact one another. So when I think of like who do I want to be to my future husband? What do I want to be to him? I want to be a person that has impacted him to make him a better person. That's the same thing that
Mm,
I want for everybody in my life, though.
yes, yes. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. I feel like the two of you have really shown a great example of how mastering self can really help you show up in these relationships. Like, it's not even just, it's not being selfish. Like, it's actually allowing you to show up as a whole person, and it will inspire, help build other, people in the midst of being in your presence. Like, when you actually do all of that work as an individual, like sometimes you'll be in a relationship and you still need to focus on some of these things, but it's something about like that Kiki said, maybe after a breakup, or like when you have this a time of solitude to work on these things and master these things, like you're better for it in the next relationship or just in the ships period. So thank you for being such great examples. Now I'm like super excited to see what the men have to say. I know y'all like, we basically just gave them the formula, we gave y'all all the game. So without further ado, I'm going to start to bring my men up. Let me see if they are ready, because we're going to, so the ladies, we wanted to have our discussion just amongst the ladies, but the men, there's some things that men need to work on, and some maybe some issues that they face when it comes to some of these things as far as self-mastery and showing up in relationships. That's not necessarily the same things that women focus on. So we definitely wanted to give them their opportunity to have the floor to express how they're feeling about this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the fellas. Are y'all ready? Did y'all check y'all makeup? Is everybody beards clean? Here we go. Damon. Really?
Oh, what's up, y'all? What's going on?
Hey. All right. There's not. Let me see if I can put you all in the right order. Hold on. Let me drop everybody. Okay, so it's always going to put me first. That's fine. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm the queen. All right. Welcome, Damon. Go ahead.
What's up? What's up, LaDonna? What's up, Kiki? What's up, Nikita? What's going on, y'all? What's
Hey,
up?
y'all.
Hey, what's going on?
Peace, y'all. Peace, y'all.
We love this conversation you're having prior to bringing us on.
Okay.
We're looking forward to answering a few questions. And then some of the questions that we have pertain to men and women. So I don't want to say that it doesn't necessarily pertain to just men only, but I just want you to I want tonight for you to hear from some men and answering some of these questions. And for the people that have their notebooks and pens at home, you could jot down your answers to these questions as well. But yeah, we just want to make sure that I want you to hear from Nah and Mikhail, just to hear some different perspectives. So earlier in the conversation, the young ladies talked about goals. And so, men tend to be goal oriented. So Nye and Mikhail, talk a little bit about how men discover relationship goals. Like, we don't do things the same way as women. So how do men find relationship goals? How does that happen? Either one of you jump on in.
How do we define relationship goals?
Yeah, how do men define relationship goals as opposed to maybe how women do it?
Oh, I don't know. I'll tell you what, I can't generalize men, but I'll just say that for me, my relationship goals was born out of me observing my parents, the world around us. I got to see things I liked, things I didn't like, and that kind of was the basis of it. It wasn't that it's not rocket science for me,
Right.
or I think for men generally, because we tend to like to simplify things,
Right.
just because we got so much going on in the world around us. But it was really simple. It was just basically, you saw things that looked great, and then you saw things that looked like hell, and you like, I don't want that. I really had some of that. So
when you were 15, Mikhail, you didn't have like a wedding planned and you hadn't picked out your tuxedo yet.
It wasn't that.
Hell no.
It wasn't that. You know what's weird? It's like, at that age, I did project where I wanted my life to go.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to be married. Like
right.
I wanted to, do this, get this money, meet whoever she is, and get married and have 2 kids, a girl and a boy. I want the girl to be older. But all of that came from my family's model.
Right.
My mother and father were together. They met when my mom was coming out of college years. They had my sister, then they had me. So there it is, the boy and the girl. The girl was older. So all I did was take the carbon copy and apply it to that life. Now, I didn't know what color the wedding was going to be. Okay. I didn't have, what kind of cake I was going to have. No, that kind of detail never manifested until I became an adult. Mm-hmm. And I saw other women doing it. I was like, oh, that's important? Shit, I just black, white dress, black and white suit, and that was it. But, all that detail came later.
Okay, Nye, relationship goals. How do we get there?
Well, this is that kind of same thing, like Mikhail said. Throughout life, you collect data. You collect information on. You take what you like and leave what you don't. And then also you don't stop. Like when you're in relationships and moving forward. One thing that I yearn for is for both of us to continue to grow, to always grow, to always elevate ourselves. That keeps it spicy, But yeah, just collecting data and learning through relationships, trial and error, because we ain't automatically with our soulmates at a young age. Through trial and error, you learn what you want and what you don't want, and goals will change.
Okay. All right, cool. I love Mikhail talking about his parents. So it segues to my next question. You kind of answered this, but I want to hear a little bit more. How do parents really impact, in particular, men's view on love and relationships? Like, how do your parents impact that view?
I don't know how they don't. To be honest with you, I mean, if we could just start at the basic level, like this. The ladies were talking about Dianetics, which, is to me is kind of a bite on psychodynamics. I come from the psychology background, so I'm gonna stand on business when it comes to that. Like and so, well, I'm not shooting Brother Hubbard down. I'm just not a Scientologist.
I got you. No, I feel you.
But that's the premise of it is that what happens to us as children tends to change our perspective as we become adults, because those kids are still in us. Mm-hmm. We are still those kids. So I had a triggering moment the other day. One of my brothers had posted that his son got in trouble. Some girl on a playground got him in trouble, and he was asking, was his did he discipline him too heavily? and he gave him 30 days he couldn't go to the park. And I was like, shit, that's a lot, bro. And you see there was something going on.
Right.
And what it triggered was when I was a child, I got caught in an inappropriate situation with an older little girl. And when my dad found out, he beat my ass.
Right.
No conversation about it. I was 5 years old. I ain't know nothing about this inappropriate stuff, but it traumatized me and I felt heavy-handed. So when this brother posted that he was heavy-handed in context of how he disciplined his son, I was triggered.
Right.
Bro, that was 4 or 5 decades ago. And it still came up in my mind. And it's still, so we are always those kids. We're never just a full adult, completely over our traumas. That's not realistic. So our parents shape everything that we see. They have been a part of it. And if you are a parent, you shape your child's view. Kids come here perfect.
Lord have mercy.
We mess them up.
So the caveat to that, Nye, for you is that there's a lot of families that are being run by single parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering how single parenthood is shaping how young boys, young men are seeing relationships. Like, how does that impact? And again, there's no right or wrong answer here. This is just your experience that a lot of families, especially in our community, are being run by single parents. How does that shape how young men are viewing relationships?
Gotcha. Well, I was raised with both parents, by the way, both parents in the household, and negative and positive attributes are passed through the DNA. So they shape you whether they're there or not, partially. And then 1 through 7 is when stuff is crystallized. As far as single parenting, it was a statistic that Oprah brought out, which was interesting.
Oprah's an expert. Yeah.
No. Don't do this. That's why I said
she's the expert of being tied to experts. That's how she got
right. She's the expert of the culture. Next to the expert. But what she said was, a household with both parents, and this is just statistics now. The household with both parents, the children are susceptible to being successful, staying out of trouble, raising a family with both parents because they've seen the example. They're just adept to being successful and out of trouble, which is important with children because we worry. But she said then a single mother is the total opposite. Like people get in trouble, promiscuous, like that's a single. But then she said a single father, you get the same results as the
2-parent family.
Both parents.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but I have a couple sisters who had single parent households. They raised men.
Yeah.
I had a sister had 5 sons.
Yeah.
They all men. Yeah. And the reason why, and this is what I would suggest to single mothers, is always look for examples for them to be around of men. That's what happened with us. He had all my sisters, they had their uncles. You know what I'm saying? All my sisters' children had their uncles. So we was able to be examples, like I spoke about last week, about, us growing up in the hood. You've seen many examples of many different men, many outcomes, but they were all men. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I would suggest, especially in a single household. If you have boys, just keep them around men that, I don't want to say it like this, but kind of like men that you probably want your son to be like, because,
No, that's
whoever
that's
you're around.
right way. That's exactly how you should say it.
Yes, sir. But that's,
I agree with that.
Okay. I like that. So men, you want to have your kids around men and women that you want them to be like or be around.
Can I add a caveat to that?
Of course.
It does not have to be a football or basketball coach.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. Amen, brother.
There's so many men across
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like
We're
I'm
not
a,
a myopic group of men that only the
Oh,
football
yeah,
coach and basketball
I-
coach is a man.
I have there's I don't know if you guys have heard of NSBE, which is like the National Black
Yeah.
Engineers Organization. So they got NSBE Junior.
Yeah.
I have my kids around that, and it's men top, all throughout, men and women, because people are bringing their children there, but they get to see men engineers, pilots, so on and so forth, and that is more aligned to what I would consider is the real world. The people that can actually help them, maybe be a mentor in a particular career, later down the line, that could like write a letter for them that is of substance. And it's not a shot against coaches. It's just sometimes those coaches are volunteers. They're not true educators. They haven't been through, the
training.
the training and so on and forth. And they're kind of bringing their childhood traumas to bear in a space, and that could be a transfer of energy. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody that's considering where to take their child or their son, and they want to find examples of men. Like I just wanted to drop that seed out there. That's all.
All right. I know that this is a conversation for the guys, but I feel like Kiki's gonna explode if we don't take her off of mute. So Kiki, go ahead and take your thing off of mute. If you want to comment, it's fine. I just felt like your head was about to explode if you didn't respond to something we said. So it's fine. You're more than welcome to come in the conversation. Nikita, feel free you guys can chime in. It's okay.
Yeah, let's have that dialogue. We good.
Her whole face like turned sideways, and the ear thing was about to pop off. So I
Y'all
just want to
speaking
make sure
some good stuff.
I just want to make sure you're more than welcome to chime in. So I like the fact that you talked
No,
about.
you guys are.
Okay.
Yes, she is.
Okay. Kiki has a delay.
She has a delay. Okay. I like the fact you talked about taking our kids around examples. So in the kind of men.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a delay for some reason.
Yes. I don't know.
You want to say something?
T-Mobile. I don't know what's going on, but
lay off the T-Mobile.
Let me ask this question to everybody. This is for everybody. I'm not even just leaving this for the guys. This is for everybody. Mm-hmm. What are 3 skills that men should develop to improve their relationships? And I'm talking about for men. So for the ladies, I want you to think about the men in your lives. What are 3 skills you wish they would develop to make them improve their relationships? And then for the guys, what are 3 things you think men should develop? What things we need to work on to make our relationships better? That's everybody on the screen. Everybody. Okay. On the screen.
All right, I can start because I already know my 3.
Uh-oh.
Wow. I'm gonna say my 3 before anybody else say.
Don't steal my 3. Big 3. Okay. So definitely like active listening, like not like listening to hurry up and respond or rebuke whatever I'm saying. Like actively listening. I think that's important for men to work on. Patience. We really need you to be patient with. We understand that we have our quirks, but like just be patient with us, okay?
Okay.
And communication.
Okay, can I say this? So when you say communication, it's so broad. I need you to narrow it down just a little bit.
She said active listening.
Okay. Because he doesn't actively listen. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying that you kind of put the same thing out there,
right?
Twice.
Okay.
He did.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking her to take that communication and say, tell me a little bit more of what you mean by communication.
Okay. So
because me and Mikhail are actively listening. I just want to be clear. We're actively listening.
Okay. Yeah. So let me be more specific. Communicating how you feel.
There we go.
Communicating how, yes. So actively listening, but also being able to communicate how you feel.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Kiki, you got 3 things you want the fellas to work on?
You gotta
I
give the
think
5 seconds.
I would like men to work on being able to show empathy for other people's experiences.
Okay, empathy.
I think
Ooh,
sometimes
that's
I found where men like, okay, well, just get over it and stuff like that. And I don't think that is always, the right
You still
way.
on that?
I think that men can waiting how they're feeling, and then also find a place of comfort in the discomfort of vulnerability, because I
Huh.
know that
mm,
being vulnerable is a very uncomfortable place to sit in, but I think that being vulnerable is important in relationships for us to kind of, be able to grow closer.
Okay. I like it.
Mm.
I like it.
mhm.
So be vulnerable. Um, have some sympathy and empathy for people's situations. And you kind of cut out, but I think you said be able to express how they feel. I think that's what you said. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Oh, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going in and out.
Okay. Is that correct, Kiki? Did I get those three right?
I'm going in and out. Can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay.
Um,
Nikita. Oh, I'm
I don't
sorry. Go
know.
ahead. You don't know. All
I'm
right.
gonna put it in the chat.
Cool. Yeah, put it in the chat. That's perfect. Nikita, give me 3 things you think the guys should work
Well,
on to improve their
it keeps
relationship.
going in and out. So a moment I can hear you guys, and a moment I can't.
Oh man.
Yes, sir.
Great. You got me, Nikita?
Yeah. So obviously these are things that need to be worked on because these are also, 3 times a charm. Some of the things that I wrote down as well. The communication, being able to, articulate your feelings and your thoughts. Empathy, and compassion, not
Mm.
only putting yourself sometime in our shoes, but, being compassionate. Because if I was you, I would,
Don't
you know,
wear them shoes.
yeah, right. Just, have a little bit more compassion with the empathy.
Okay.
And then effective leadership. A lot of times
Ooh.
So
I want to be led. I be tired out here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
I be
Effective
tired.
leadership.
I be wanting to be like, well, babe, what you think? Or not even, just in that
Nah.
just relationship, but talking to other men, like, what you think, or
Mhm.
whatever. But a lot of times, I don't know what it's due to, and maybe you guys can answer that. But a lot of times leadership is not given in certain ways. It's like, I don't know. And I would like to just be, effective leadership and
Mhm.
using that compassion and empathy though, not like,
uh,
telling me what to do, but consider this. You know what I'm saying? I would love to be led by an effective leader.
I'm gonna come back to your last one because you contradicted yourself at the end, but we'll get we'll get Mikhail and Nye. We'll come back to what you
Okay,
said
pray.
about effective leadership. We'll come back to that. Nye, go ahead and give me 3 things you think the guy should work on to improve our
Oh man.
relationship.
I want to go into communication,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
a kind of a different angle.
Yeah.
Learning the language of whoever you're with,
Ooh.
because you can't communicate with everybody the same.
Ooh. I like
So
it. I like.
learning that person's language, that's you're gonna get one up. They can relate. You showing that you understand them. So that's one. Another is have a goal that's bigger than the relationship.
Okay.
Always have something that's bigger than like both of y'all can work towards.
Okay.
That keeps, like I said before, it keeps it spicy.
I like it.
What is the third one? What hasn't somebody said?
I mean, it could be what somebody said.
It
Yeah.
Just
could, it
have a
could be.
consensus on
We
something.
might need to reinforce some things because
Mhm.
obviously active listening and sharing our feelings is something that's really important. But
Well, yeah, being able to express yourself effectively.
Okay.
So being able to, speak and translate your feelings to another is a skill and a gift. So
Okay.
that can be communication is. And most people say communication in relationships because that is one of the most important things. So
Yeah. we just have to drill down what that means, because I think we all define it differently.
Mhm.
So some people may think communication is talking. Some people might think communication is in actions. Some people think
Effective communication.
So we gotta be real.
Communication that gets results.
Yeah, we gotta be
I
real
mean,
clear.
that-
What we
yeah,
mean
it's
by
gotta.
that.
It's not. Put it this way: it's not communication if the other party is not
Right.
understanding you.
Right.
Yeah.
At that point, it's just you talking at people. You're just talking at somebody.
Michael, give me
Oh,
3 gems.
I could hold on. I could change my third one.
Oh, okay.
Don't ignore any signs.
Don't ignore any signs.
Don't ignore the signs, because you're gonna regret it later.
What's
Don't ignore the sign. We all do it. We all do it.
flags. You talking about red flags?
Talking about red flags?
Red flags, bro.
Okay.
Oh,
Don't ignore them signs. Don't say, "Well, we could probably work it out. I could probably change it." No.
Don't ignore the bathroom sign.
Bye. What does that have to do with the question?
What, men?
No, that's an answer.
Yeah, men should not ignore signs.
3
So
things,
improve your
that men
relationship?
need to improve
Yes.
their relationships. He said, "Don't ignore
Yes.
signs." That's
Yeah.
That's the beginning
Okay.
to improve your relationship.
Into it.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the beginning. Yeah, that's how you start off with a good relationship. Yeah,
brother
The right
Michael,
one.
brother Michael, give me 3 gems. Give me 3 gems now. I need 3
Now
things.
you gonna put
that
weight
men
on
can do
me.
to
For
improve
me,
their
I guess.
relationships.
So one of the things I had to learn is, men, we set the tone in relationships.
Okay.
So if we come in a certain type of way, you got to stay that way.
So consistency.
So consistency.
Okay.
That's number one. 2, I found that one of the things that we seem to lack when I have conversations, whether in session or just amongst the guys, is that we really don't understand how much power we have, or what power we actually do represent. Like we kind of talked about it earlier when we were saying, for single mothers, make sure you put your kids around, good men or men that you want, the boys around men that you want them to model, and bring your girls around men that you want them to look up to. So hopefully they'll find a man that's like him. We have a macro effect over our community. If we on some bullshit, wait, can I cuss?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If we on some bullshit, our community looks like that.
Right.
If we on some real stuff, our community looks like that. If you look at our organizations, whether it be from, I'm not gonna say like the Fruit of Islam or Nation of Islam, like how they got their stuff in order. They have a structure, how things should be go in their communities. I'm not saying they don't have their problems, because humanity is humanity, but community-wise, it seems to be together.
They got that down.
They got it down. And so that's the model. I mean, the Black Panthers had it until COINTEL, bro. So, we know we can do it, but those are just 2 examples of how powerful we are. I don't think we walk in that power.
No.
Okay.
And I wish that was something that, we would embrace more of overall. Like and
third one.
I know.
I know.
I think the third one is you really investigate what is emotional intelligence was a phrase that came out real big during COVID, and it's always been in the psychology space. But emotional intelligence is, from my seat, is the ability. I think was it you, Nikki? Oh, Kajifa that said, I think it was Kiki. She said, be able to say I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Instead of jumping to anger. You ain't shit. Really, what you're saying is you disappointed in them.
Fact.
And you've let me down. I think I just need to put some space between you and I. So just being able to fully understand the scope of all the human emotions. Stop attributing emotions to, oh, you being like a woman, or you being like, you are half your mother, half your father. So if you attribute emotions to being a woman, then you're just tying into what you're half of. And stop trying to, make that a taboo thing. Tap into it, understand what those emotions really mean, and or those feelings really mean, because honestly, I see them as fire alarms. Like when you have an emotion firing off, if the smoke alarm went off in your house, you either had a couple of choices. You could freeze and wait to see what happens, get up, go see what it is, or run out of the house. That's all the emotion is. The emotion spikes, you hear the alarm, you either paying attention, you wait, or you either go see what's happening. You know, sometimes we tend to just go right off, run off.
Right.
If you sit still sometimes, and if you understand that that's what emotions are, feelings are not facts, they're just alarms. You have to go find the evidence.
Woo.
And we don't spend that time to. So emotional intelligence means, you know, that we recognize, oh man, I'm feeling sad. What is it that I'm sad about? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of really what it boils down to. So those are the three areas I would love. You know, understand our strength, be consistent, and grow in emotional intelligence.
Okay.
That was a long answer.
I just want to pause for a minute, because Brother Michael said feelings are not facts.
Come on,
that right there.
They're just alarms.
If I was a pastor, I could preach that for 3 weeks in the church.
Right.
Feelings are not facts. I love
Feelings
that.
are
That
not
is that's
facts.
powerful.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Like Ursula said, know your triggers. Know your triggers.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, somebody said know your triggers, emotional self-worth.
Thank
yeah,
you,
know
Ursula.
your triggers.
I'm gonna drop my 3 in here because we're having this conversation.
Come on.
So number 1 for me is master communication, and then what I mean by that is however you communicate, whether it's talking or action or whatever, become a master at it, so that the person on the other side gets it. Like it doesn't work if they don't get it. They have to understand what you're trying to say. So, what's up, my boy? Oh, that's Broken Traditions, my boy. Oh, so master communications. The second thing I want men to really work on is learning how to articulate when something changes. So it's
I ain't signed up for this.
It's one thing when we do, like, we start out dating and we go out every Friday, but when something changes, he needs to be able to articulate that clearly so that she doesn't get the wrong idea. She doesn't let those feelings become facts and go off, right? I think the change, because things are going to change, you know, every 5 to 7 years, your relationship's going to change. You're going to change. So I think the ability to articulate change, like, I know that we've been doing this for a certain length of time, but now this is coming up. I got a promotion at my job. I'm taking care of my kids. My health, I need to work out, whatever it is, being able to articulate the change in your relationship. I think that will help guys a lot, because a lot of times we make the change and then we don't articulate it. And so now it's a lot of confusion. And she's like, you're not being consistent because you were doing this and now you're doing. So I think it's the ability to articulate that change is something that men can really, really work on to help themselves out. And then the third thing for me is defining yourself and then actually living it out. As men, a lot of times, especially men of color, other people are defining us. Other people are telling people who we are, right? They're saying that black men are this, black men are that, black men are bad fathers. But if you do the actual research, the Pew Foundation, PEW Foundation, they will tell you that black men spend more time with their kids than any other race
more involved
in America.
Yes.
But the narrative is black men are not good fathers. So I'm just saying,
wishful thinking.
We need to define who we are and then live that out. So live that out. Don't let somebody else say that we're not this, we're not that. To your point, Michael, I love the thing about coaches. Like, coaches aren't the only people that can teach your son or your daughter what a man looks like. Like, there's so many other people out here. So whatever you are, if you're an intellect, if you're an artist, if you're a creative, if you're a whatever, live that out. Like be that. Don't let someone define. We're not a myopic group. I wish we were. It'd be easier, but we're not a myopic group of people. Black men are so many other things. So I want you to define who you are and then live that. Yes, sir.
No, I just wanted to add to that point about it, because this kind of goes back to what you said about if we were just this monolith, right?
Right.
But we're not. And I think that's one of the things that I would ask any parent, single parent, male or female, or parents together. Discover what your child is. Don't make them into, because what I found, like my son played football. He chose to do it. I think he was just trying to see what it was. He saw me
Right.
play. He knew I played a little bit. He knew I watch it all the time. And he just volunteered. And that ain't his cup of tea. Miles is not the type of dude that wants to knock the wind out of people.
Wait, your
That's
son's
just-
name is Miles?
Of course, Miles.
Shout out to you. My son's name is Miles too.
Bro,
Ain't
that's
no
2 for 2.
accident.
That's 2 for 2.
2 for
Ain't
2
no
right
accident.
now. 2 for 2. 2 for 2. 2 for 2.
So but that's not his stick. You know what I mean? Miles is a creative. So
Mm.
I'm gonna put him in creative spaces.
Yes.
You know, don't try to force, especially your male children. Stop forcing male children into what you think he needs to be vicariously through him, mother or father. Like, chill on that, because that causes more trauma to those children than you know. I know, because they sit on my couch. You understand what I'm saying? And we got to stop doing that. Like, for the children that are have the athletic prowess, put them in that sport.
Yeah.
Let them do their thing. But if your child likes to draw anime,
Man.
Let them
Come
be
on.
great. I
Let 'em
love
be great.
anime.
Get
right?
him some
Let them
sketch pads
do
and
it.
some color pencils. Let's get it. Let's go.
Let's
Mhm.
go. Like,
Let's
that's what's going to make them
Help
able
them
to
with some
identify their
character. Right.
that's what helps them identify their passions. So
Love it.
I know this is not about parenting 101. I just wanted to throw that out there because,
That's beautiful.
you know,
Oh, no.
to me,
It
that's real
definitely-
love.
It definitely ties in, because clearly, you know, the reason why most people are struggling with relationships is something that happened in their childhood. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
And so your parents are a large part of that, whether they're active or
Mhm.
inactive, around, not around. So parenting has a big part to do with it. And I just love the way that every time you answer a question, you segue to my next question, brother. You own it. You don't even know.
I love
You
it.
throwing them up off the backboard, man. I'm just catching them and dunking them every time, brother. Every time. So
let's go.
Damon, before you move on,
yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to speak to, I think it was your number 3, where you said that men should be able to communicate change. Can
That's
can
number
we
2.
add?
Yeah.
Oh, that was number 2. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was
ma'am.
number 2.
Can we
Active
add
listening.
kind of like piggyback off one of mine? I think one of the ladies had this as well about emotions. Can men communicate change in your emotions, how you're feeling? You know, so like say the relationship is going in one direction and your feelings change.
Well,
So,
that's,
you know,
I mean, when I
okay.
say articulate change, you can plug in whatever you want at the end of that.
Okay.
So if
All right. Well, I
it's,
just want to be
if it's to
specific.
change the
Okay.
direction, change the weather, change the reservations, change
Okay.
how I feel, change clothes, whatever. It's
Okay.
the key is being able to explain it to someone else,
Whoever
so
the
they
party is.
understand why you're making this change and why this is important. That's the key.
You might have to use smaller words sometimes.
You might have to. You might have to. But
I
yes,
just think that's
definitely.
important. I
If
just
the
wanted-
relationship goes in a different direction, he or she definitely needs to be able to articulate that.
Yeah.
So we learn how to love at home, right?
Yeah.
So this is a question for the 2 gentlemen, but ladies, feel for the time in. What's the biggest thing you've learned as a man? What's the things you've learned, and how do you example that in your relationships? Because we learn how to love at home. Like, we learn how to love, we learn how to curse, we learn how to eat, we learn how to do a lot of stuff at home. We learn
We
how to
also
love at
learn,
home.
yeah,
So
love
what's something
or
you
not
learned
love.
at home that you, and how do you example that in your current relationships, whether they be romantic, friendships, whatever?
That's interesting. Because I kind of learned the reverse. I learned the reverse.
Okay.
Like, I learned how to love from both my parents. My mother and father both loved me, but when I look at like my relationship and I look at their relationship, I make a point of doing the opposite
Right.
of some of the things that I was able to observe.
Right. Okay.
You know, because like LaDonna said earlier, you know, families keep, you know, they got family secrets.
Ooh.
You don't know what's going on, you know, this, that, and the third. And as you get older, I learned a lot about my parents' relationship that I had no clue of.
Right. Right.
I just knew I didn't like how that felt, you know, when I saw this, or if I heard that, you know what I mean? Like, it was, I didn't like the tension in the house. I didn't like the fact that, you know, it was just I ain't gonna put mom and dad's business out there. They in glory. But the point is that I was trying to be a man that I had not observed. So in essence, I became Frankenstein. So I'm
Right.
looking at Cliff Huxtables. I'm looking at, you know, Uncle Phil. You know, I'm trying to kind of grab and pick up on from my band teacher, Mr. Jackson, or I'm looking at, you know, Coach Carter. Like I'm looking at the men that are in my circle, the deacons at my church,
Right.
and I'm putting pieces together of what I like from each one of them into who I've become, and people
Right.
know me to be. And then after that, I just try to be consistent in my beliefs.
So it's clear to say we could say that at home you learned necessarily, and you saw an example of something that maybe you didn't want to follow. It's still a lesson, right? You still got a lesson at home, and then you went out and you sought out examples that you wanted to follow, but you still at home you kind of picked up, okay, my dad does this, my mom does this, I don't really like that. That's something you learned at home. So then it helped guide and shape, okay, because I don't want this, I think I want this. So where can I find an example of the qualities I'm looking for? So you did learn it at home. Just
I learned it at home. It was just
the
one thing I did take away, and I'll kick it, is, you know, everything ain't perfect.
Oh yeah, no.
And you don't just cut and run on family. That kind of goes back to the macro statement I was talking about earlier.
Right.
Like, you know, marriage, and I'm assuming everybody wants it that isn't married. Maybe they want to be married or something close to it, like a committed relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, you know, I ask people this, you know, what problem does marriage solve? Because
oh my God.
Because it's an institution of a church. It, you know, and ministries of church have purposes. They serve a purpose. Their purpose is to solve this problem that the church indicated is out there. And this is why we've created this entity, this ministry. It solves a problem. And most people never approach marriage in that context. And if they did, we wouldn't have the 56% divorce rates.
Ooh.
We wouldn't have that.
Talk about it.
And I just think that, you know, that's one of the things that I will say that I took away from my parents' marriage is like, yo, this shit ain't supposed to be butter every day.
Right.
You know, that's not what this is.
Right.
And it's bigger than you. You know, it's bigger than he, it's bigger than her, it's bigger than it's we, you know.
It's a whole community.
So
it's a whole community.
Yeah, so that's what I took. That's what I took away from my parents' marriage.
Okay. Got Nye. You told us, hey, I grew up with both my parents. You pointed at the camera, was like, both my parents.
Both of them.
So you learn. We typically learn how to love at home. So I'm asking you, what's something you learned at home? And then how do you example that in your current relationships? And they don't all have to be romantic. They could be friendships. They could be.
I don't have one now, so I'm gonna have to answer the other way. I'm just playing. So we had 9 in our household. It was 7 of us, and then my mother and father. So one thing I picked up from all of that is teamwork. Like, I learned the dynamics of teamwork and communal living. So now, you know, whatever household, I know I know how to place people in the right places to make it work together. Communal living, like everybody pulls their, you know, whatever you can do. So that's what we had to do in our household. Like everybody had to pull their own weight. Michael said earlier that, you know, everything's not perfect, and he's absolutely right. And knowing how to work out things that aren't perfect to make them as close to perfect as possible. So teamwork, I learned teamwork, man. I think that's important. Everywhere I go, I build a team anyway. Like whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to take a team because I know that works. You know, I know it works. So I've seen it.
Okay. All right. Ladies, Kiki, Nikita, y'all want to slide in here and give me something that you learned at home and how you example in your relationships now?
One thing that I learned at home is that people can love you and still disappoint you.
Ooh,
And
amen.
matter of fact, they will
Ooh,
disappoint you because we're
Jesus.
human and we're
Come on,
Yeah,
flawed.
as long as they're human. Yep.
Whew. That's a ooh.
Mic dropper.
Again. If we had a church right now,
Well,
next month's series is gonna be on people that love you and disappoint you.
Yeah. Well, my daddy was a minister, and my daddy told me that. My daddy told me specifically that people and will disappoint you. Even he said, even me, and I'm your father, and I
wow.
love you more than anything. But because I'm a human, I am flawed. The only one that will not disappoint is God. So that is
Amen.
where you have to put your faith. And I didn't get it when he told me that when I was young. It took me like
Being grown.
growing up and
Mhm.
really going through some stuff. And then those words that he spoke to me, like I'm like, oh, I get it. And so it's just where you learn to give people grace because we gonna disappoint one another.
Yeah.
It's inevitable because we're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah, definitely. Nikita, got something for me?
So I was just sitting here thinking. So I learned how to be flexible. Even though my parents were not together, I spent time with both of them. But I kind of take also from Michael's perspective, being with my mom majority of that time. I learned that you don't have to stay with anything that you don't desire, right? It was almost like my mom was just like, no, it's not working for me. Like, I'm out. Like, so, I did get some of those, flight risk.
Know when to catch your losses. Know when to cut your losses.
And we cut them out early. All that arguing, you know what I'm saying? If we can't communicate, if we can't really kind of, just really get through this with love and compassion, it's too much stress. I'm not about to let you stress me out to where I'm skinny and all that. Like I'm going through it. And so because of that, I have learned the balance of healthy long suffering. Whereas, from my past or the things that I will learn, I'm out of here, when is it, when should you stick in, what is not healthy for you and it's not going to progress into something healthy. And then, in certain situations you should, give a little more compassion and grace to and stay a little longer and just having that balance. So I think that those are the two things I've learned: the flexibility and the ability to have balanced, long suffering, if there is such a thing.
So I love that answer. You and Michael are on a roll here because y'all always roll into my next question. I don't know why, how y'all are doing this, but y'all always roll into my. But I feel like
they got the lesson plan.
Yeah. I feel like it. So this question is this question is really for Nye and Michael, but I want you all to answer. But this is a question that I think is going to touch upon something that LaDonna said earlier, and that is that I want to make sure I say this question correctly.
Wait, before you ask the question, LaDonna, did you answer?
She didn't. No.
Oh, okay.
He didn't give me the opportunity. It's okay.
He getting a little get back. It's all right. A little bit of get back.
While you get your question together, I can answer.
Listen, I got her. Trust me. This question. Listen, I got her. I promise you. I got her. So when it comes to men in particular, developing the ability to know when it's time to either redirect a relationship or end a relationship. I want to talk about that because a lot of times, again, Nikita and Michael on a roll, this long suffering, right? We all have a friend who's in a relationship where they are suffering on purpose. And they'll give you 1,000 reasons, the kids, the house, my money, whatever. But at what point do we learn how to either redirect the relationship. So, as you said, this ain't working, so I'm gonna redirect and go somewhere else, or in a dating scenario, hey, we went on a couple dates, we talked, we've got to know each other. I don't think you're my person, so we could be friends, but I don't think we're. So I'm redirecting. And in other situations, it's like, hey, we've been in this for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. This ain't working. I gotta go. Right. So this ability to know when it's time to redirect or end is important, because I don't know this for a fact, but I hear, to LaDonna's question earlier, men being able to communicate when their feelings change, when things change in the relationship. Like, it was all good Monday, today is Friday, the sun came out, now you talking something different. So I really want to get into like something that men should work on and develop is don't wait till 10. You'd be surprised. It's the people out here that's been dating for 15 years, got 3 kids, sent 2 to college, they still dating. So but like really understanding, like, when is it time to redirect this thing or end it? Because a lot of people will just, people that just sit in relationships, like they just sit, they complain and they moan and grunt, but they don't move.
I don't know. I would say that everybody has a value system, right? And so, and we get that value system either from like our parents, or we learned it growing up. We watch TV shows, we said we like that, so on and so forth. Then we start dating people, and everybody has a list, and you're going, you're checking things off the list, whether it mentally or some people actually journal it and literally check off the list. It I don't know I can't tell. My squares are different. I was about to say my squares are different.
I pointed at Donna.
I was like, yeah, you got a list. So this is what I'm trying to say.
Mental list.
This is what I'm trying to say is that, it's easy to terminate a relationship. And I use the term terminate because once you make a change, what you had is over.
Right.
So I'll just use the term terminate. When you choose to terminate a relationship, it is based on the principles of your value system not matching that person that you're with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the redirect, or maybe we could just be friends. For somebody they've been dating for 2 or 3 years, well, you've checked off the value system, but your goals are not aligned. And we either need to discuss how to align our goals, or our goals will not be together.
Right.
How do you get to that place is really trial and error. But I think LaDonna wanted to figure out, when I decided that I don't love you anymore, how do I tell you? Is that right, LaDonna?
Oh man, no.
It's
a source to why you don't love them no more.
Well,
I think it goes to what you were saying.
Yeah, but isn't that what she's looking for? Like when we change, the change you're talking about is when we say, because I could not like you and love you.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. But it's very difficult to say, oh, I like you, but I don't love you, and let's stay together. So you're looking for the moment where I say, I can live my life without you just as well, versus when you're in love with somebody, I can't imagine life without you. You know what I mean? Like, is that what you're talking about?
Well, I think that is an example, but I was thinking more so on the lines of, I'm disappointed.
Oh, you mean so emotional intelligence communication?
I've been emasculated. It's something you said or did changed how I now feel about you, this relationship, whatever it is that causes men to act a different way, move a different way. Like there was something that happened there that caused a shift that doesn't get communicated.
Right. And so what you're saying is you need men to be vulnerable. And I'm saying that men are vulnerable where we feel safe to do so. And sometimes that's at the barbershop with our people, like people that we've entrusted. And unfortunately, we've kind of created a culture where Black women are not a safe space for us anymore. And that goes back to what you're saying, the war on our relationship. So that ask, while I say is a great ask, that's an uphill battle, because I got to get to a space where I will be able to articulate, hey, I feel like you kind of emasculated me. Well, man up then, you know, or become you supposed to be a leader, you know. I'll get into Nikki. You know, it's like it sounds toxic, but that's what's in the air.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like when we say we want Black men to be leaders, what does that really mean? Because it's subjective.
Yes, ma'am.
That means you have, you know, this is not the military, right? You know, there's no clear hierarchy. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You're not going to get that type of structure. So what does leadership look like in our modern society,
right?
Versus the wonder years that we keep trying to cast back to when it's convenient? I think at the end of the day, leadership is not about barking orders. Leadership is about creating a space where people feel safe. You know, because I feel like I can stand behind you and you got me. Like I feel like, you know, this is something that no matter what's happening, I know you'll choose me. And I think that, you know, you can't, I don't want women to kind of downgrade their role to things. I had said this on I think it was in a comment, wasn't it, LaDonna, where I was like, you know, the Bible refers to wisdom as her. So how do I not ask you your feelings?
Right.
That's the best thing, that's what God put you, like, you are my wisdom.
Right.
You have an empathy. You have the things that I may not necessarily have that can help guide the choices that I'm making to lead our family. So, you know, it's about feeling like we're safe in that space to be that leader.
Yeah, I like that.
But you know, it's going to be hard to have women step down out of that role.
Yeah, and I think we had touched on this, like creating that psychologically safe environment, right, where you feel like you can express like how you're feeling without the other person either, you know, using it against you or, you know, attacking you or you know, taking it personal. And that's something that, you know, we have to work on, like, you know, both parties, the women, you know, how we need to create that environment for you, and we need you to create it for us as well, because there's some things that
does it make y'all feel unsafe when we are able to articulate that? You know, does it make you feel like you can't be protected by him anymore because he's showing vulnerability? Because I've seen that.
It's actually the opposite.
So it's interesting. It's interesting because you ask that question, and if the women are saying no, but the men will tell you yes. The men will say, the minute I showed her vulnerability, she no longer respected me as a man. She no longer saw me as a protector. And she didn't do it necessarily consciously. She did it unconsciously. So she started making decisions, and her actions showed that I was no longer the person I wasn't her hero no more. I wasn't her hero. I wasn't there. So she felt like, well, you whining and complaining about this, that, and the other. You need to man up, you know. So a lot of, if you ask that question, if I get a room full of men ask that question, they're going to give one answer. And then if I ask a room full of women, they're going to give a different answer. And so the point of this podcast and Smart Love is to get those two people in the room so they can understand each other's answer and why they see it that way. But that's a great question. And all three women shook their heads like, yeah, of course. Yeah. But the men are going to be like, nah, that ain't been my experience. That's not what
like Michael said.
Go ahead.
That like what I was saying earlier about the red flags. Know if she's your wisdom or wisdom tooth. Something that need to be pulled out and discarded. I'm just saying.
I love it.
Know the difference.
Well, I'll be honest with you, bro. Like, it's what I've discovered is, and the women may be mad at me for saying this, but I don't feel that we're seen as a whole person. I do feel like we have S on our chest, like we are supposed to be just these, you know, stand in the wind type of guys, and you know that's what you made for, you know, protect, provision, but they don't see that we're like this whole person,
Right.
hopes and dreams and visions and silliness, and we have to be stoic. Like I look at all these ancestral pictures and all the
They
men,
don't
like,
smile.
they don't
Hard.
smile for nothing. Just
And
They
then
were going
it's
through
always
it
like,
like
yeah,
this.
they be at
Even
the
the kids.
they at the
Right.
wedding like.
right.
I mean, everybody is
So
hard,
scary.
and it's just like God.
It
dog.
wasn't nothing to smile about, I guess.
I guess not.
That ain't how
But
they.
I wish that's one of the things. I wish that there was a way that we could get on the same page, that we're all human. We all have these emotions. We all have
Right.
these dreams. It's better if we work as a team, not as a judge and jury of each other's actions. I just think
Or-
that,
Or
there's so
working
much
as,
more that we can do.
or working as competitors.
That's what it
Competitors.
is. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Or have you seen this too? Comparison, where you're comparing yourself to you're comparing yourself to your partner, or your partner's comparing you to someone else in another relationship.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
That'll
you-
kill the whole
so
thing.
so and
It
so's
does.
man or so and so's woman does this. You should be doing that too, because that's what a real woman or a real man does. That's what a good woman does this. So Nye's girlfriend does this. So you need to be doing this too. So it's a comparison or it's a competition. So we got to
That's-
find a healthy space.
Then
Again,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, again, Nikel's throwing them off the backboard because my next question goes to this, and this is important. This is probably the most important question I'm going to ask tonight. I'm going to be honest with y'all. This is the most important question I'm asking, and I want everybody to answer. Okay, I want everybody to answer. What is something you think men fear in a romantic relationship? Something they fear in a romantic
Is
relationship.
that to us or to the ladies?
That's to everybody.
I'm gonna let them answer
Because
that.
I want to hear
sit
the
back.
different ideas. What's something you think men fear in a romantic relationship?
Failing.
Before we even touch on that, because that
Oh,
was
okay.
Minister Michael, you was dropping it, okay?
I didn't-
You was dropping it. Okay, so I
I
was
wish I had
kind
an
of
organ.
down and jotting stuff down, but it kind of piggybacked off of what you and I was saying about the purpose of a relationship, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if the purpose of a relationship is to move forward and to grow, and to help each other in our purpose in life, I should want you to do your best, right? I will apologize on the women's behalf, right, for allowing our traumas to respond to you guys in different ways when you are vulnerable. But I would also say that even though we say, no, that's okay, blah, 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 sometimes we're shocked when y'all actually do speak your mind and it cut a little bit, right? It cut a little bit. So I can say that we will do better than that. I mean, better with that, right?
Mhm.
But also, like, when it comes to the relationships, if your foundation, because you said, how women kind of pop off at men or whatever, if your foundation is set upon, and I know it's cliche for a lot of people, it's not set upon a situational relationship, but this is my friend. Like, we were friends first before we got into this relationship. We had these children. We start living life together. When I spoke on leadership and you were asking, like, what do you mean by that? Well, Michael has said it earlier. You guys set the tone, right?
Mhm.
So when we argue or when we have communication or whatever, you talk to me in a certain way, I am going to, in turn, in a healthy place, follow suit, right? So it wouldn't be a space for me to be like, well, won't you man up if there was not the foundation for that. I know not to talk to you like that, or be silent, you know what I'm saying, in certain situations if we have not built that foundation. Also, if you are my friend, I'm not going to come at you in a certain way, even if I'm disappointed or whatever, and it's not a situational relationship, a transactional. You're supposed to pay for me to do this and handle this, and all of mine is all, and all of yours is mine too. I'm not going to come at you like that because I really see you as my friend. So in turn, I can see when my friend is hurting. I can see when my friend is going through something. I can say, hey, babe, I noticed that, you've been acting a little funny. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? And allowing you that space to tell me that. But if relationships are not built on that, if they're built on being a situational or a transactional relationship, and the tone is not set by the man on this is how we communicate. I'm not going to talk to you this way. So I would respect and honor that you don't talk to me that way.
Mhm.
Most times we're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But if people are coming out their mouth, calling you out your name, raising a voice when you see that, you can raise your voice, but just certain tones that you set to say, this is how we argue. This is how we're in conflict. This is how we take care of this, which is kind of led or given to us by you guys, then I don't feel like in certain situations, unless the woman is just completely not healed and just not doing the work, I don't feel like that you guys will be, treated like or got at like that.
Yeah.
Damien, you on your lip. What's going on?
I'm waiting for Kiki to say what she got to say. I'm being quiet right now.
No, I agree with what you just said. And what I think that men fear, I do think that men fear not being heard. I think men fear being vulnerable based off just what everyone just said. That I think that there is a broken belief surrounding masculinity and leadership and what that looks like. So I think that if a man is vulnerable, if he cries, and you have, like you just said, Nikki, a woman that's not healed, so she doesn't know, she has a broken belief about vulnerability. It's like, well, why are you crying? Well, you're not supposed to be, you soft, when it's like, no, this is a human being that feels sadness. I think it's okay for men to express sadness. I think it's necessary, but I don't think that men feel safe enough to do that. So they just kind of push it down. But whatever is pushed down, it comes up in some other type of way.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
1000%.
If somebody cry over something genuine, then it's warranted.
Well, genuine is subjective.
Right.
We're not
talking about narcissistic
Genuine.
I ain't talking about when the Falcons lost the Super Bowl. I'm talking about
we're not talking about and now you want to cry. We're not talking about narcissistic on 2 tiers.
So
we're not talking about those kinds.
So crying. I always feel like I have to say this. I always feel like I have to say this for the men and for some women out there. Crying is a biological response to stress.
Right.
When we cry, you release endorphins to offset the cortisol and adrenaline that's tearing down the muscles in your body. So crying is literally a biological response. It's not an indicator of someone's weak or soft. And I hate that word weak. I always say opportunity. But it's like, if you understood it as a biological response instead of it being a response to someone's character, I think it would be more acceptable. It would be something that could be embraced, or it could be an indicator that the person that you're talking to is stressed, and maybe the conversation that you're having needs to be tabled. Being able to reflect. An argument is only 2 people trying to prove who's right instead of trying to do the right thing. And when you can get a couple that's working together to try to figure out the right thing, they ain't calling each other names.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not at the place where they're like, oh, we need to redirect this relationship, because in essence, you're working together. Back to Nia's point, it has to be a team effort. Otherwise, the fuck you doing it for? I'm just saying,
Okay, can I say my answer now? Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, go ahead, LaDon. It's your show.
Okay. I gotta ask the co-host, because he silenced me earlier. Can I go?
Well, once again,
Power to co-host.
I'm being quiet. Let y'all give your answers now. Come on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think something that men fear the most in relationships is being seen as a disappointment in the eyes of the woman that he loves.
Yeah, failure. We didn't want to fail our mamas. Why would we want to fail you? The hell?
Okay. That's it. That's it. That's your answer.
That was it. Yeah, I was simple. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool, cool.
Nothing
Nine,
crazy.
But that ain't controversial.
you got something you think men fear in their relationships, something that they're afraid
For
of.
me, in my experience,
Yes.
not fulfilling my life's purpose.
Okay.
Because it was a saying a long time ago. It said, when two people fall in love, they look in each other's eyes and forget their entire life's purpose. And whenever I'm in a relationship, I'm all in, man. I'm all in. And so that could distract me from not fulfilling my life's purpose or it getting passed to someone else. So that's my biggest fear.
I guess that depends on who your partner is.
Yeah, that's why it's most important who my partner is, because I'm gonna need somebody who's gonna support my life's purpose, so we can both be good.
Okay, Michael, you had something else on that fear?
My fear is like what LaDonna said. It's about failing. It's about failing the relationship. Like I don't know. I never wanted to be the reason why love failed. That's the romantic in me.
Oh yeah.
So black men don't cheat. I don't cheat. Why you laughing?
Yeah,
I know. I'm serious. Dead ass. I'm serious.
I thought you don't cheat.
Okay. Good.
I'm with you.
I had resolved a long time ago.
Black men don't cheat. Black boys, they cheat.
Yeah,
but black
I just
men
I don't want someone. I've seen what cheating does to the partner, and I don't want to be the villain in your story. I don't want that. I don't want to walk around knowing I'm somebody's bad guy.
Really?
You get what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what.
No, not you, my kid.
I know what you're saying.
I'm talking about these three out here. I am not writing a dissertation. I'm just asking some questions.
He's just taking notes.
He jotted you down. Every time somebody says so, he.
You got something to say? Okay. Next.
Next paragraph.
About to blow y'all out the water.
Right. Real quick.
I'm just trying to make sure that I cover all the areas that we need to talk about. That's all I'm trying to do here. I promise you. That's all I'm trying to do.
Torpedo coming.
Wow, y'all pretty much hit all. I guess the last question, and for me, most important thing is, and this is going to tie into the conversation that the ladies had earlier, is what are some steps that men should take to heal from unhealthy relationships? Like, what are some of the steps they should take? Now, there's probably a lot of things that you could do, but yeah, what are some things that you would suggest for men to do to heal from unhealthy relationships? Anybody?
Pause for the cause, man. Most people heal from that, or try to heal from their last relationship by getting this with this next person who is a band-aid at best.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So pause until you feel comfortable enough to where nothing is a trick. Well, I don't want to say nothing because we ain't perfect, but to where too many things are not triggers for you anymore.
Well, remember, you're always going to have triggers. It's just a matter of how you respond to them. You can always
to where you don't react to the triggers, or to where people don't see that they triggers.
How do I respond to that trigger? How do I respond to it? Ladies, something. What are some steps that men need to take because I hear there's a lot of men out here that are heartbroken, that have been through heartaches and divorces and. And they're angry and mad, and they're out here trying to date y'all, and they're in the dating pool, and or they have childhood trauma that they haven't faced, and so now that's coming out in your relationships. And so, what are some steps? They don't have to be in order, but what are some steps, some things that you think men should do to heal when they're coming out of an unhealthy relationship?
I would say start with self-mastery, like everything that we have been talking about today, right? Because the thing is, like, oftentimes, I know women do it too, so I'm not saying it's just a man thing, but like you just go straight into the next relationship, right? So you haven't even taken the time to understand what went wrong in that relationship, what part you played in it, what lesson you were supposed to learn, and guess what? You're going to repeat it in the next one because you did not take that time. So yeah, taking the time to focus on self I know that's kind of hard for men at times because it's like, you know, you have this physical need to be, you know, I've heard men say like, I just need that feminine energy around me. I just need, you know, I just need this. I just need that. I need the comfort of a woman. So yeah, taking that time for, you know, to focus on self. And I don't know if men would actually do this, but this was a really helpful ritual that I participated in that kind of helped with like getting over heartbreak. It's called like a letting go ritual, where you basically you write a letter to the person that hurt you, or you know, that caused some pain, right? And you write the letter. It's kind of like a forgiveness letter. Like but you don't give it to them, you don't read it to them, they don't even know this exists. But you have to articulate it in your own words, you know, what the value that you got out of that relationship, you know, thank them for whatever they provided, as far as, you know, anything that helped you to grow. You forgive them for whatever it is that they did to you, or that you felt that they did to you, that, you know, that you want to let go, you don't want to carry it on to the next relationship. You thank them for the lesson. And in doing that, like you're actually taking your power back, because now they don't have whatever it is that they've done to you. You've forgiven them, you've laid it all out, and now you can move on to the next relationship. And it kind of gets you to focus on like the positive things in a relationship, on what you learned and how you grew. So I don't know, would you all do that? Is that something, an exercise that you guys would do if, you know, if it helped? It's like this journaling basically, but with a purpose.
Michael made a statement earlier about men being complete humans, like complete total human beings, right? And so I don't think there's anything that women can choose to do to heal themselves that men wouldn't do. I just think that it had to be introduced to them in a way. So when you say like, I don't think guys would do that, or you know, it's almost you're reinforcing the whole idea that he said, that we're compartmentalized into what we can do for you, what we can do, you know. So we don't get to be treated like a complete human that has feelings and emotions, and we can't process.
So I apologize.
No. I don't want.
Actually, I'm asking.
I don't want you to apologize. The reason why I don't is because I'm glad you said it, because you're showing the example of how a lot of people view men. Like a lot of people view men as, oh, they would never do that emotional stuff, right? They would never do a ritual. They would never do. But to be honest with you, men just have different kind of rituals. Some of them are going to the sports bar during football season. Yeah. Some of them are like, you know me, I'm a cigar smoker. So my ritual is I'm going to light up a cigar. So the ritual might not be the same, but we still do the same things, and we connect with each other in different ways. So I'm just pointing out, that's not a shot at you. Don't take it personally at all.
It's not a shot, but you're right, because when we asked earlier, you know, would men be safe? All three of the ladies said yes. But she turned around and did exactly
right,
inadvertently, what I was talking about doing. So it's not that y'all intentionally not make it safe. Okay. You know what I mean? It's not like y'all like, oh, don't talk to me about that sadness, Negro. It ain't that. Right. It's just that y'all have y'all draw a line in the sand. Yeah. I have male clients do yoga for the first time. And the reason why they didn't do yoga was because that's not something that men were taught. Well, you know, a man's not supposed to do.
Go to gym, lift weights.
Yep. Go to gym, lift weights. But then I point out, you know, celebrities, athletes that actually do yoga and kind of normalize the idea. They go do it and they come back and they be like, yo, man, I never felt so focused, relaxed, like calm. And I love the end of it when everybody was just laying there and it was quiet. Like, I love it. I was like, when you going again? I'm going this week. Like, that's the feedback I normally get from men that actually take the step to step out of the norm and do something that's courageous and try something different. Because ultimately, like Damon said, we do what we know how to do. Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is, sometimes what we do ends up not working no more.
Right.
Like drinking. Like we'll go out drinking with the boys. That works until it doesn't.
Right.
And you need to have more tools in your tool belt that are not destructive. So
So
you know,
what was the answer? Would you all do this
Absolutely.
ritual?
I've
Okay.
done it.
Can we light the letter on fire and put it in the fireplace or in the fire pit or something?
Really?
Can we do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how you release it.
Roll it
You
up
know,
as a cigar.
So
you know,
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna push you a little bit harder. I actually have called women I've gone out with and apologized.
right.
Even if I thought they did me wrong in the relationship, I
Yep.
played a part in it.
Yep.
So that's the accountability piece of it. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
when I went back over the relationship and I thought about some shit I was like, yo, I said that. Now this is post therapy me. You know, this is me evolved. So I had to be evolved. Yes, when
Your wife-
I am evolved. I am evolved.
wife
Trust me.
This must have been
His wife
before
was
you
like,
got married.
when?
No, this is before
Ooh.
you and I got together, babe.
Stop this now.
Anyway,
Love it.
so
Hey,
I'm just saying, like, that was part of me kind of when I was matriculating through my therapy program. You know, I discovered that I was the bad guy in some people's story.
right.
And part of my healing was me calling and apologizing for my part. If they took the call, this is what I expressed to them. I had different reactions, but they were all pro the apology. One was she started crying on the phone, and it was, and this is like years removed, and I
Right.
realized, you know, how visceral my words were in that relationship to where it had traumatized her. So that's how you heal. That's how you get to a space of healing. Like accountability is healing.
Mhm.
And if you don't have accountability, you will always be the victim of this trauma. Your
Ooh.
life doesn't have to be a monument to
Yeah,
your
we're
mistakes.
not victims. We're all participants. We're all participants. We
And
ain't no
Michael, I'm
victims.
glad you said that too, because I was going to actually say something to that effect. A lot of times we like to blame, you know, the other person for the relationship or why we went through whatever, but nobody is able to do anything to you that you don't allow.
That's right.
You know, so what part of me allowed you to operate with me in that way? You know, how did I show up in order to allow this door to be open, to be treated in such a way?
That's right.
So, you know, just kind of looking inward also. And then too, abstaining, you know what I mean? Abstaining
You talking about from sex?
from sex, from liquor, from
Thank you for asking clarity. I
anything
appreciate
that you're going to
what she talking about.
use as a tool to haze over how you really feel about the situation. So some people, you know, do, you know, use sex in that way, or another relationship in that way, or liquor, or whatever it is that you're doing to hide your true emotions and your feelings about the situation, and not kind of like getting down in there and figuring out what's going on, you know what I mean? And especially from sex, because it's really hard to try to get that clarity when you're still joining and bonding with other people in that way. So yeah, I would also say that.
Can I add to that? Like I'm a strong believer in tactical coping skills and strategic. You know, they're two different things. By title, they're two different things. Like if you're fighting a war, there's a strategy. I want to be able to move forward, you know, but then the tactics is at the front line. So if you find yourself in a space where you are hurting and you find yourself with someone, as you said, you know, trying to cloud the hurt, that for that person it works. It's just not something that you can continuously do. Like you can't go bed to bed to bed to bed to bed and then find a relationship and you ain't had no time to look at your map to see if you actually moved the front. You know, so it really boils down to recognizing this is just a temporary coping skill to kind of deal with the pain. The pain is too much. I'm tired of feeling like this. I just need to get a break. And the thing is, men, because oxytocin is not as present in our bodies as it is in y'all's, that's why we love sex more than y'all in terms of pursuit. Like y'all have it from having the kids. Y'all can hug the kids. Y'all just had this estrogen going on, And for us, oxytocin that we get from sex is something that is a rarity. That's why it's such a mwah to us. You know what
Y'all
I'm
hear
saying?
that? It's a rarity.
Well,
Yeah,
I
take
mean,
that.
it's because
I'm
it's
just
not.
playing.
It's no, but I want to be
I'm just
clear
joking.
that everything that we do is biologically connected.
Mm.
It's not about our character. It's not about men just dogs. This, that, and the third. Now we have things going on in our bodies that we don't understand because we haven't sat down and educated ourselves on it.
Right.
But
Mhm.
there's enough information out there. There's access to that information. Learn these chemicals that are in our bodies because we're puppets on a string to them.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's one of the things that I want to add that to 4 things that men need to. We need to really understand our bodies, understand serotonin, understand dopamine, understand what these chemicals are that are driving behaviors.
Okay.
And
Good.
that's why I say, you know, there's a tactic. Like I'm okay with it. If you want to, you know, go be with somebody or rub one out on your own, whatever kind of to ease your mind, that's cool. But you still got to go to the strategy,
Yeah, you still got to
which
deal with the
is
issue.
you got to deal with the issue, which is like I said, how I ended up picking up the phone and apologizing, taking accountability for my part. You know, allowing someone to talk to me like that. You know, allowing myself to talk back to them in a way that I wouldn't want my mama to know about.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? Like it has to be both parts, because if you put stress on the tactic, they'll never be moving in the strategy to where there's something that they can stick to. You know, we got to have a pace to it. But that's I'm on a soapbox. I feel like I'm
No,
talking.
no, no. You
But
you said
Robots ain't broke, bro.
you said something really powerful about earlier when you talked about the power of men, right? And you said you picked up the phone and called and apologized. I bet you don't know how important that apology was, not from you, but just from a man in general. That there's probably a list of men that owed her an apology that never apologized to her, starting with her father on down to boyfriends, relationships, people. And the fact that you apologize, that's probably why you got the responses that you got, because there are a number of people, men and women, who are owed an apology for some things that happened to them in their life, and they may never ever get it from the person they should get it from, but they still deserve it and they need it to release some of that that's going on. So I bet you that the reason why she cried, yes, it was about your relationship for sure, but just think about in your own life, there's some things that you are owed an apology for that you may not get that apology, but you're owed it. And if someone apologized to you, it would have an impact on you. So
it means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Ooh.
You good, Kiki?
Good stuff. Oh yeah, this is also good. This is
Man,
awesome.
she ain't delayed no more. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that men need to get in community with other men that are on the same path, that are trying to heal as well. Like you need to get in, go watch the You Good Bruh podcast, or like I said, Bae Plug. Like I know one of the Bae, what's that? Mr. Fab has this group now called Thug Therapy. And I think that it is powerful to see these people from the same, these people from Oakland. And, we know what it's like growing up in that community. So for you to be this Black man from Oakland and you created this group, Thug Therapy, where it is all these Black men that's from the street, from all these different walks of life, but they are in there talking about like trauma and their feelings and being anxious and all that. Like that is powerful. Like that's how we heal, is
Amen.
With one another. So that community is important. I think women, we have all these communities all around, but I think they're very
like
few
groups, organizations.
Yay, we need that. We need that.
I got it all.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, like Michael was saying earlier about, I think he spoke about Dianetics, and speaking to what you just said, Kiki, going back into our traumas, going back and revisiting the traumas, especially we're at a higher level than we were when we went through it. It's kind of like the Ghost of Christmas Past. You know, you able to go back and see it from a higher view, like, okay, and then learn from it. So I think that's very important. Michael's work is very important. Therapy, where people can talk about. That's what Dianetics is, though. To tell you the truth, I'm not advertising for L.
No,
Ron
no, I get it.
but that's what Dianetics is. They're confessing their deepest traumas to a stranger. I don't approve of that, but that's what they're doing, and it helps them to alleviate them from that trauma. Because you know what you go through, especially 1 through 7, it affects all your life decisions for the rest of your life until you do something about it. So
To
I
choose
think
the
that's
people you
very
love too. People you love.
Okay,
people
great.
You don't.
So I think this conversation is great. I think we're moving in a great direction. Can I ask LaDonna, since this is your platform, can we do a part 2? Can we do a part 2?
A part 2 to
this is part 3 already, ain't it?
And the reason
I mean, we can start a new series. So there's
part.
Are you saying
no,
a part 2 to self-reflection or what? What do you mean?
To the self-awareness and the self-mastery part.
Okay.
Can we do a part 2? Only because we're beyond our normal time. So people are like texting and they're in the chat. And so I want to make sure that we're around so people can get what you take. What in the world?
What's
And better insurance.
That's my insurance.
You're so funny.
I'm like,
what's your rate?
y'all do know we have a whole nother room over here you could be communicating in. But anyway,
just in case somebody wanted to go to Minister Michael, don't do him.
Exactly.
Right.
Not just somebody in the chat. Okay, but
yeah,
yes,
go ahead, plug Michael.
All right, plug it up.
Absolutely, we can do a part 2. I think that. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we have a great group of people and some great information. I was taking notes, by the way, everyone, but not for the reasons that you think.
Torpedoes.
I was just trying to make sure that I picked up some key things that people said in the conversation. But yeah, I think we should definitely continue this conversation.
Me and Nikita doing the Brady Bunch right now.
That's what I was looking at. That's what I was
you. I'm like, you're right.
Okay.
Look, you looked up the right way, Michael. That's
okay. That's what's what
I work with characters. I tell y'all. This is characters. Just telling you.
Okay. All right. Now this was great. So yeah, we definitely will do a part 2. Yeah, we got to bring the cast back.
Oh, we almost on 3 hours.
And
it went fast though. Damn.
Yeah, people are texting me like, y'all still on? I'm like, oh yeah, I know. We're still on.
I know. So I was trying to put the homework in the chat, and it just came up like all my spaces. I didn't like how it looked. So I'm gonna actually
put it in every chat that you shared it to.
Can we just do like a PDF and put it on the
in a description?
PDF.
Like a PDF on the Facebook page. I was saying on the Facebook page, people could go to it and get it.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I was just gonna show it really quick if that's okay too.
Or you can email it to everybody and we can share it too. Just post it somewhere people can go to it.
But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and close out.
Hey.
I think that we definitely have more to discover when it comes to self-awareness. I'm not gonna say that keyword that Nye does not.
I just said I hear like Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse every time you say self-mastery.
Okay, but no, I'll show you the homework really quick, and I will share this. I'll actually put it on the a link to it on the Facebook and on the YouTube, so you'll be able to get to this. And I'm actually going to create a Smart Love Facebook group. So that's where I'll put like all of the videos. I'll put, attachments and stuff like this, different digital things that we share. But we can actually start to have like more communication, more chats and stuff in between our shows. Because, we're like a growing community now. You know what I'm saying? So we need a space that we can all get together. So I will be starting that soon and sending that to everyone to actually join. So, but just really quick, the homework is, it's all about doing a self-check. So I have some questions here that, I want you to be, honest with yourself by answering these questions. Write it down in a journal, notebook, notes on your phone, whatever. But just really take some time and to answer each of these truthfully. This is just for yourself. No one is going to read them. Well, maybe I'll make you share it on the next call. I don't know. But yeah, definitely do a self-check. Do a deep dive into your self-purpose. A lot of these things we have in our head, like, yeah, this is what I believe, this is what I value most. Write it down. What are your strengths and your weaknesses? What are the areas in your life that you want to improve? What are your God-given gifts and talents? Write these things down. And again, all of this is going to help with this self-mastery. So I'm going to close with that. I'll leave this up for a second so anyone wants to take a screenshot. But again, I'll share this in the Facebook group as well. All right. I want to thank everyone, all of my guests. This was a great conversation. Let me stop sharing this. Hold on. Can I stop it? There we go. This was a great conversation. I feel like we covered a lot. I've always felt like I learn on these calls. So I hope you all are learning as well. I thank everyone that joined. I was in the chat, that joined the conversation, leaving your comments. And we will be back next Sunday. So make sure you tune in.
So are we gonna make the announcement that we're on every Sunday now?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So rather than splitting our audience with Thursdays and Sundays, and it was a lot. So we'll definitely just only do Sunday, and but we can have two segments, right? So we can have a separate segment if there's a conversation that the men need to have separately from the women, vice versa. But we definitely want to make sure that we are able to put all of our efforts into great shows like this rather than trying to split and divide our attention, because we all have lives going on. And I think this was great. I think Sundays is good right now until football season, but maybe we'll just move to Saturdays, and I don't know, we'll figure it out. But thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Everybody stay on, please. Thank you.
Yes, everyone in the panel stay on.